Hi everyone, my name is Pauline and I am so happy that you found my YouTube channel, Painting with Polly, or Vino Van Gogh is probably where you're at as well. We do painting parties, and this is kind of a sample of what you can see that we do in our store and art in a bag. So I hope you subscribe, I hope you enjoy the video, and thank you so much, appreciate it. Bye-bye. Kind of show you a couple different options that we did with our little Cardinal and Mailbox. This is the one that I did previously, that if you are choosing to paint it on a disc and then come in and do the resin pour after it, you will watch the same video. Yours is just going to be a little smaller, but you can see that right here I'm going to put a little bit of blush pink in the background here, a little bit right here, a little bit inside the mailbox, just to kind of represent some of those colors around the painting without just having it all right there on the Cardinal. So I am going to go ahead and start. A lot of this I won't be talking, and you can pause and rewind, and you're probably wondering why I'm putting I'm taking some white here, and I just kind of swirl my brush onto the end a little bit. You're probably wondering, why am I putting white on a white canvas? What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up there with some of that pink, and it's just going to, if you get your pink too dark, or you take a little red and you mix a lot of white with it, if it's still too dark, what's going to happen is once the pink hits it, and I'll just show you, I'm just kind of taking a little bit of that pink. Once that pink hits it, it's just going to kind of mellow it out, and it's a lot easier to do blending when you have that white underneath that is still wet. So I'm going to put a little bit right in here. Of course, I'll go ahead and go across the bird while we're at it. It's not going to hurt. Everything's going to get covered up with black, and of course then we have some right here. So I'm just going to kind of dip my brush in the water a little bit and kind of clean off kind of spread that pink a little bit more right around in here. I think I'm going to stand up and get this thing done. So, and there's some pink kind of coming through the fence post right there. I'm just gonna, like, if this is sort of a early evening or early morning, you're gonna have some pink sunrise or some pink sunset. That's gonna I like to kind of lift this up a little bit. Just add a couple like that. You can always get rid of it if it's too much. Okay, so that's what I have done so far. And I'm going to give you a little, you'll see me do this with my brush. I just pull the paint off, and then you whisk it in your water container, and that's going to keep your water a lot cleaner. Gotta watch if your fence post comes right here, right underneath the bird. That doesn't look so good. I'm not sure what that is. If his tail got broken, or it just kind of doesn't. I'll move that fence post over there. Maybe I'll just leave one and just have a nice, so that we don't have them all 2 inches, 2 inches, 2 inches. Here's a nice one that's a smaller one. We'll just have one big one, so I'm just going to leave that out. In fact, I think I'll probably have that on the original too. So this painting, we're going to have kind of a grayish brown mailbox, and we're going to get that by mixing the white with a little brown and a little bit of black. But before we get that, I just kind of want to show you how the painting goes from light and it gets darker over here. So I'm going to start up again with start putting some of that brown in there. I'm going to grab a little bit of white and kind of make my background puddle like right here. And I did this, I'm just going to go over this whole thing. That's light enough. When you press hard and you want to go all the way down, because of course your fence is going to be really dark or really brown. So I'm going to make sure that you don't cover up too much of your pink, and you let some of it grow. Some of it not grow, but some of it just stay there. I picked up a little bit of pink that wasn't quite dry right here, and it just ended up on the fence, which is fine. I'm gonna keep moving along. And when I get to the top with this one, here I'm just kind of swirling it in. When I get to the top of this one, I'm gonna go back and add a little bit of gray in there. But first I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna go ahead and go the whole, excuse me. I'm gonna go ahead and go across the whole thing, and here I'm gonna start picking up a little bit black and kind of make sure that it is this easel right here, this metal thing I keep hitting. So I think this canvas is small enough. This is also something that we're going to be doing in our store. Give the people the, and I'm just going right across that mailbox. Don't worry about it. Go across your bird. Everything's going to be darker. I'm going to stay away from him right there. Everything's going to be darker or lighter, and we're going, this is just putting a wash on the background. We're just kind of laying in these shapes right here. Dip a little water, and you want to kind of be careful about how much water you're taking on. You don't need to plunge your brush all the way in. And I'm going to get, that got a little bit too dark. I'm going to get got some piles here. Since that's so dark, I'm going to go ahead and start on this side and work my way over. And we know that this is going to be covered in snow up there. Press my brush and get that paint off of there. Just kind of fill that in. So while that's drying, because I'm going to come back and I'm going to put a darker charcoal black over the top of that, and we want to let this layer dry first. If you have a, if you went like that across your mailbox, go ahead and pull those brush strokes up so that they, of course the snow is going to come up and cover that up anyway. And it's a little, where did I lose my, outline that again. Okay, I'm just going to let that dry. I'm going to work on my fence, finish my fence, and then we'll do the mailbox. This mailbox is going to get a lot darker underneath of that lid, but we're just going to, you know, not try and force it. Right now these layers have to dry before the other layer is going to stick. And there is a really dark little area right here that's very important that you want to put in. And then our snow will go on top of that. So it's kind of the back of the woods. It's really dark back here. Like I said, this is too wet to work on right now, so I'm just going to kind of clean off my brush, add a little bit more on this fence, clean it off like this. And we can find the shape of that fence later. You'll want to take your, every time you come to the edge with a color, you want to wrap that color around. In this case, the whole thing is going to be kind of a grayish charcoal gray, or you can come along and you can just put a black, you know, kind of do like a little black like this, go with black all the way around, and that'll work too. And just kind of blend it in with your finger. So let's let that dry a little bit, and I'm going to work on my mailbox. So that is just a, you know, old-fashioned, I should probably get that background down first, but let me see what we've got in here. I can actually work on the inside of the mailbox. If you need to switch to a smaller brush, by all means go ahead, but I'm going to just kind of, it looks a little dark, so I'll lighten it up. You don't want to have it black, but I've definitely got it, I'm definitely pushing it there. Now this is where I'm going to outline my little birdie here. Most of the times we we paint the subject in, you know, so that we don't have to fuss with the background, and we can have a lot of fun doing that background without going up to the edge and worrying about our bird. So that's why we send a little color life-size photograph with you. And then this is lighter right here. Send a little photograph with you so that you can kind of trace it on, you know, when you lose those pencil lines. And I lighten it up with a little bit of, you'll see that lovely pink showing through. Lighten it up with a little bit of white. Need more of a gray here. And this is actually the color that I want to put on the outside of the mailbox too, so I don't really need any more. I'm just going to kind of put a little wash on right now. I'm just going to put a very light wash, so I dip my brush in the water. I want to make sure that I get that it's more gray than brown. And a little bit of water. And I'm going to go ahead and go over that because everything's going to get, it'll just kind of follow the direction of the mailbox. We can always put that flag back in. And that flag is going to be red, and it's going to have white in it, and it is going to cover up anything that is in its way. So just kind of, you know, these old mailboxes, don't see them much anymore, but they're out in the country, and they kind of have the ribs, the little highlight ribs on there. And I'm just going to leave that white on the top because that's where our snow is going to go. We'll make sure that this is, looks good. And you can come back and we can add a little bit more darker. I think it's a little bit darker here on the side as it gets to the back. So we'll do that now. We'll come along and put some white, little white highlights in it. And for that, I'm just going to kind of dip my brush in the white and just kind of tap it off like that. And you can take all the time in the world to do this. Something you can wait till it's completely dry. Those little ribs in there. And then we are going to outline with a smaller brush everything when we get done. So this whole area is pretty much done. There's a little bit of brown color down here in the bottom, and I'm just going to kind of make sure that it's going to lift it up. This is all going to be snow right here. A little snow. I'm going to kind of pull that up. So that's a little bit darker on the bottom. And then in the belly of the curve, it'll be highlighted. So while this is still drying up here, how we do it down here, it's a little damp yet. So I'm going to go ahead and finish my background. And I'm going to, really don't need to wash my brush. I'm going to get sort of some medium gray, like that. And of course, all we're using is brown, black, and white. So I'm going to put some of this gray in here. And when you dunk your brush and get more water, of course, you're going to lose some of that. It's going to become more transparent. If it has water, if it's the more water it has, the lighter your colors are going to be. I just kind of want to get rid of any streaks. And I'll just kind of keep going a little bit lighter as I go toward this one. I did this painting a couple days ago, and I did it at night and really wasn't watching. I was sitting down, I was painting from the side instead of standing up, and it just really got dark on me. And so it's kind of important to have this whole lighter area a little bit lighter. So, and I really don't need to even put anything more over here. What I would like to show you how to do is to avoid having stripes. Your brush is 1 inch wide, 1 inch stripe of different colors. Just go ahead and blend it across and kind of hook them together. Maybe I'll put some more. And I'm going to fix this down in here. Looking at my little sample, it's kind of medium. It's a medium brownish gray. It's not real light and it's not real dark. And all this is going to be snow, so it doesn't matter. You can see how I'm just kind of blending this color together like that. And I'm going to put a little work on the left side and get that a little bit darker above the mailbox. And come over in here so that we don't have 3 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. I'm going to kind of bring that darker color down to the mailbox and sort of bring it over in here so that it's not so isolated. You can go sideways if you want to, but actually that's not a bad idea because there's lots of brambles. There's lots of, you know, we're going to put that on soon. We're going to put a lot of little snags and things that you're going to see out in the background of this painting before we put that big branch on. So now is about the time, once we get our background done, I'm going to work on this a little bit, although our snow is going to come all the way from here over here, so I got to come down a little bit. And you know, once we put those little snags and bushes and branches in the background, it's gonna make all your little, if you have strips and stripes, it's all gonna kind of melt together. So a little bit more here, and it's a tiny little bit. Ooh, let me see. Let me look at my sample here. No, I think I'm done, and I think I'm going to. I'll just kind of start off with some browns. I just dip my brush just straight in the brown, and you don't want to go. You want to make sure that you blend it on your palette. You don't go up there with a big clunk of brown. But I'm just going to kind of add random off, light pressure to lift up. I'm going to put a little bit more here, and these are going to kind of connect like that. And they just sort of disappear because it's getting lighter down here, and they don't show up as much in the back. You have to have a couple of them. Try not to do a V like I just did. Maybe 2 of them side by side, or kind of break that so that we don't have that football touchdown kind of thing going on. And this is just too fun to stop. So it's easy to overdo, and I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to work on the fence. So I'm going to put some more on right here. And now I don't need any more paint. I'm just going to kind of hydrate what's already on there. We definitely want to get it darker under here. I'm just going to go ahead, and you don't want to have it black because otherwise his tail's not going to show up. And you can turn it on the side too. You know, you can turn your brush on the side if you want to get more old school kind of fence in there. And we can come back, you can come back in and put some nail holes, and you can put some, this goes all the way, this is all snow. The snow kind of comes all the way up here from the middle of his beak. So I'll just go ahead and maybe connect it there so we don't have that pink stripe. And then you can always shape this. This is going to be totally white in here. Although I am going to put a little color in there because, you know, other birds have been on that. I think if I had an old mailbox like this, I would just probably use it for a bird feeder. And maybe there's been other birds out there snacking, and I saw some blue jays. We did a painting of the blue jays on the same mailbox, so kind of hope they left something there. Okay, so that's my fence. And this is easy. You're going to be on a bigger canvas, so you can, you know, blend this and not have to kind of squeeze everything into that one area. And make sure you have that little dark triangle right there. And this is drying quite nicely, so I'm going to go ahead and put the large brush, or the large branch on. I'm done with this brush for a while. Oh, most of the, yeah, I think I'm done with it. So just make sure, always have your, you know, kind of squeeze it off, and that'll keep your paint. My paint water is, even though I've been using all of that black and brown, my paint water is still quite clear. And I'm just going to pinch that brush, and I'm going to pick up my next size brush right now. We are going to put on that big black branch. So I'm going to go ahead and go pretty dark with that. I got some dark brown. I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of black in there. So it's sort of a charcoal. And we'll just kind of hold this up right here. Get that branch going. So I'm going to kind of go low on here, and it's going to come and kind of go behind the mailbox right here. So kind of goes like that, and I'm turning my brush a little bit for some variety, so that you don't have you know, the same 1/4 inch, 5/8 inch all the way across. And then there's another branch that, and we'll outline this with black as well, because it's picking up some of the white that wasn't quite dry yet. And I think I'm just gonna kind of come, I need some black. I'm getting in too much, picked up some white on my brush. So, and just kind of curve it up and go off like that. And some more black. And then there's another one that just kind of disappears over that. So this should be a little darker underneath. Put a little bit dark. I wouldn't go more new canvas. I would just go on the inside of the bottom and put a little black line around. And from here, I'm just going to kind of very light pressure. The harder you press, the thicker your line is going to be. And there we go. So I'm going to let that dry, because this needs to have lots of snow on it, and can kind of get rid of most of that paint. And I want to have maybe some lines in here. Let's look at that. Maybe some darker lines, like a knot hole or something. Some wood. And that way, that's what you want to do with just plain black paint. Nail holes are kind of fun on an old fence, and you can choose 1 or 2 of these techniques. Sometimes, you know, when I'm demonstrating, I put everything on one painting, and it gets a little overdone. So I've got some nail holes, and when these are almost dry, remember, and you can even do it later when you're wet your finger. But I'm just going to kind of soften them a little bit. You know how they run and they rust, and but here that pulled off that paint. So, and they kind of have more of a personality. An old fence has more of a personality. Kind of want to connect that like with a bar, so it doesn't show all the way through. We want all of our attention to be up here with this little guy. So I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to wash it, but it's still going to have a little bit of paint on. I'm going to pull this off and give it a couple whisks. And let's see. I just want to kind of dirty this up a little bit so that it's not so white. Like I said, other birds have been feeding on that, and your little guy has a shadow underneath of him anyway. I'm going to put tiny little bit of red stain. Boy, this red is really intense, and you want to kind of go back to that pink blush. But there's a little bit of kind of this right in there, and there was some more here, just more there. Kind of lost most of our pink that was up in there, so I'm going to add a little bit right there. And I had little bit of pink in here that kind of went away, just a little bit here and there, so that it's not just all, you know, we do have a little bit up in here. Add a little bit, if I'd like that a little bit stronger. Remember, just a wash, a very thin wash, and you want to make sure that it's on a dry canvas so that you don't bleed it into each other. Before I put the snow on here, I'm going to go over this. It's a little bit vivid, and I'm going to put a layer of thin white paint over this in between here, and that's going to make that forest look deep and further away and more in the distance, and so it's not competing with that right there. So in the meantime, I guess I could go ahead and I'm going to take that little bit darker red and put my, you always kind of put my little flag on. We've got two different kinds of red, and we've got this a little bit darker red, and then we've got like a really high key red for highlights on him. I'm just going to go ahead and make that a red, what do you call it, a little arm. I'm going to paint over that with black, and everything kind of, black will cover up everything. So I like having underpainting, colors underpainting, because it just makes it so much more interesting, and makes it look like you've been painting a long time. Okay, so I think I pulled that off of my brush, and I shouldn't have. I'm going to go ahead and just, when I do get my brush, you don't have to plunge it all the way in, because you're just picking up an inch of water or a half inch, so just barely break the shape of the surface, and that's enough. I'm going to paint, kind of outline my bird a little bit. And I will have to kind of, do I have it? Nope, I don't. I'm going to have to step over and get a little bit of yellow for his feet. But I'm not going to worry about anything. I just want to get everything except the beak. And then we can highlight his little cap, and we can, outline his tail that's just kind of disappearing into that fence right there. So I'm just going to put that on. You can kind of see a little bit of messy, kind of want it messy. He's been walking around on that. Maybe there's just a tiny little bit of reflection from him behind right there. And I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to come along with my big brush. Make sure this big brush is really clean, and find a place on your palette that you can take some white. I'm just going to poke it in. You're not going to take a lot. I'm not going to take a lot, and it's not going to take a lot. And I'm just going to kind of see how this will just kind of let some of the kind of disappear a little bit, because those paintings, that big black branch is still wet, so I just want to make sure that I'm not interfering. I don't want to touch that one. There we go. If you put your if you put it on light in the first place, you probably won't have to do this, but somebody taught me this, and it was really exhilarating to learn this little trick, because my backgrounds are always so competitive with the foreground. There was just always so much going on in the background, and somebody once told me to could do that. It's a little white, which I didn't really like that. This will get a little bit darker when it dries, but I'm not going to take the chance. While it's wet, I'm just going to kind of darken it a little bit. It got a little bit too milky there. Go in the opposite direction. Add a little bit of gray back in there. It's kind of sling. Keep it loose, keep it fun. All right, so it's ready. We are a couple steps away from, going to let that dry because that's still wet. And I'm going to put the snow on the top here. I'm going to put the snow right here. And we're going to, I'm going to go down a little bit with my snow to make sure that we still have that nice triangle right in there. That is going to be pretty important for the composition. So I'm going to take my You can use whatever size. Usually I would do my smaller brush or my bigger brush, but I'm just gonna kind of make sure the snow doesn't go too far over there. This is where you can just kind of glop it on. And there's a little triangle right here in this area, and then the rest, okay, his little beak's in the way, it's gonna have to go bye-bye. See this? It just kind of slap it on. It'll get more transparent. Like you can see, that's kind of bleeding through a little bit, and then come around the side with your white, and you can kind of see the gray. It's up to you how high you want to get your snow. Keep the bottom straight, unless there's some ice cubes hanging down, but this will get kind of transparent where the gray will start showing through, and you can put some more snow on there. And this is dry, so let's just go ahead and I just kind of like to use a little choppy so you don't cover it all up with some of that shadow show through. Go right up underneath of his tail there. This is where you can shape your mailbox if you got out of shape. There we go. And then, yeah, you can see, I think you can see the part of the painting in the background here where I did it large, and I didn't. It was nice painting, and it's still salvageable, but I need to go in there, and I needed to make a better video for y'all. So, and this is just big chunk of snow right there. Kind of comes down. And I'm just going to kind of turn my brush and sort of end it like that. And kind of make it go. Now is when I'm going to turn my brush to my side and outline this right here. And I think, and I'm going to bring this down. So when I'm outlining, I just kind of dip my brush straight down, tap it a couple times on my palette, and I'm just going to bring this down right here to that. Now we get the picture. All right, so this is dry enough. I'm going to go ahead and put my snow on, and I'm going to glop it on and drag it, press, and kind of gets a little skinny, and then press, and then drop some off, and I like that. There's always a lot of snow built up here in the corner, almost like a little triangle right here in the elbow of the branch. And it's like that. And there, here, we're gonna make that little triangle, and then that. Little triangle, and then that. Alright, just a little bit now. That didn't need to have that on there. So anyway, now is when you get to put the stars on. And we'll go back and we'll make this handle dry, and we'll put some more color on our bird. And so, but I always like to keep working. So if you have some of these back branches that still kind of look big and out of place, or they're just a little bit too outspoken for being in a snowstorm, just go ahead and put some snow on top of them. Don't forget to put the snow between the branches. Variety of sizes. You can kind of wiggle it like that and get bigger ones, and you can, you know, just really kind of lose yourself. And maybe they get a little bit bigger as they get closer. I like this right in here. That's kind of what I was going for, these little guys. So maybe there's not as much snow. Here's a darker one that I should kind of get rid of, and have some snow coming in from the side, coming up from the top, so that it's not just all in here. And if yours is really light on this side, and the snowdrops, the snowflakes even look nicer, they will show up. You put some on the mailbox, put some in front of the fence right here, coming down. And this is, they're probably falling like right here. Maybe there's another one right here. A couple little ones. beautiful and peaceful, and our little Cardinal is loving it. I'm gonna get some bigger ones, kind of smash it a little bit. Have some variety. Oh, I like those little ones in there though. The little ones are fun. And there are snow branches on your big branch. Don't forget that. I just kind of like to incorporate and involve everything. So this looks like it could use another coat. See how it sunk in a little bit, and the white sort of melted into the background. So it's a little scary to just put a thick or a white coat, not thick, a white coat on top, but it will work, promise you. Okay, and this right here bled through as it dries. It always needs a second coat. So the first coat's kind of like the primer, and just kind of, that's a little crooked there. Maybe the snow's hanging over the edge there. Okay, so all I have to do is the bird, and I'm going to kind of get up close to it right here, and I'm going to give it another coat of the darker red. And if it's a little bit bright, I might just have to add a little, just kind of tone it down a little bit with some dark brown or some black. But I think the first coat, and that's about the color that I want. And I'm going to put another kind of coat on. Here's a little beak. It's going to, little head comes out like that. And his back is got some black feathers on it too, so it's good to kind of see that tail's going out. You still can't see it because it is in the dark right here, but we're going to outline it with a little bit of snow. Little bit of snow. Okay, so I am just going to take a tiny little bit of black, and I've got that red on my brush, and I just kind of went like this and kind of mix it in with the red, so it's sort of a reddish black like this, and kind of see where I'm going here. All right, so that's okay. So it's kind of got a wing, and he's got that mask. And he's also got some legs. So those little legs are basically, I'm just going to kind of make a little X. And there's kind of like a, you can do that. You could put some little tracks around there if you want to. Look, he's been walking around on this. Kind of mess it up so that it's not particularly fresh driven snow at this point. He's got this really beautiful, wonderful little mask on, and I just have a round brush here, and because I took it next door and cleaned it, but it's about an 1/8 inch, and it's the perfect size for what you need to do with something like that. So I'm going to step back for just a second, and I'm going to get the yellow for the beak and see if I can find this right here. You can see this is running down. No, it's actually just a snowdrop. And kind of compare it to this one up in here. I like to have, you can see things when you walk away from it. You can, it's a wonderful thing about the videos is you can pause it and rewind and come back, and they turn out so much better than you know, when you're pretty much like in a class and you just finish it all within 2 hours. So I'm going to kind of just put a little, that didn't work. Need a little bit more paint on there, Pauline. Okay, did I introduce myself? I'm Pauline, and I own Vino and Van Gogh. I don't think I said a thing. Just went right into it. In Springfield, Oregon. It's a paint party company. Well, that doesn't, that's something I need a little bit better brush from. And I think it also needs a, maybe, from my angle, it looks like it might need a little filling in right in here. And let's just go ahead and kind of outline his tail. That's all you need to do. It's just one little, bring that snow from this lid, just kind of go over the top of it a little bit. And you can keep putzing around with your red. There's even a brighter red that's just really, really brilliant. I might put that on his chest right there. I gave you a couple different kinds right there. But I'm gonna kind of walk away and I'm gonna get the yellow for the beak, and I'm also going to get the smaller brush so I can do that little mask. And okay, so here is the beak picture. And I think I'm gonna put that on first before I put the mask on. And he's just a little, I think I read somewhere where they are part of the finch family. They have these little, I kind of keep wanting to make it, the beak too big. You don't want to do that. Then it kind of starts looking like a blue jay. And his little beak, I'm going to put a little bit of, make it a little bit, put a line in the middle for his mouth and his little breather hole, his little air hole, his nose, I guess. And I'm going to take some black and just kind of go up here. I did not find my flat brush, so I'm going to go out like that and then go in. That's all you need to do, seriously. Any kind of more detail, and I know I've got more detail, I put some kind of outlined a little bit right here around the top of his wings. There's some more little feathers kind of going in there. He looks fat, and there is a kind of a outline right in here around his legs, under his tail. It's a little darker. And this little black thing kind of comes down into his chest and it just disappears. So this should be dry, but I know it's not, but I've got this black on here right now, and I'm going to just kind of put a little line, an outline. I might have to work on that a little bit later. It could use a little bit of orange and brown. I don't have brown, but I got red. Let's see, kind of a reddish brown with some yellow, and see if that helps his beak. See if I can make an orange. I should be able to. I've got red. Nope, that's mauve. That doesn't look too good. No, it's too red. Okay, so if you have a little orange, put that on. I'm just going to kind of start over here and add a little. That's not too bad. Well, now I got out of place. So here's, oh yeah, one more thing. We got to put our handle for this right here. So I'm just going to kind of outline at the top like that, and just kind of pull that over, and maybe just outline like that, and get that a little bit dark so that shows up. And then this line right here is black. And this line here is kind of follows the mailbox, and it looks like, okay, now I really got his little beak out of place, but at least it's not too big. I'm gonna try and hey, I think I did it. I think I got it. Let me show you something, a little trick right now. If you have your beak and it got too big for you, and it's a big clunk of paint, just take your brush and clean it off really good. Milk it like a cow, just really pinch it. And you can go right up to it and kind of go inward, and it will lift it off, and then do the same process. Clean it, pinch it, and you can skinny eyes these trees if you've got big flat trees. Just try and have light and then a medium brown and then the black on the bottom, and that'll make them look a lot more uniform. And all right, so I think once I get a little bit of yellow in there, I think I can sign this. And I'm not sure, I think this came down a little bit too far, so I'm going to patch that up with a little bit of the gray and the black. without, you know, patching it up is, yeah, best to wait till it's all dry. Just go ahead, don't try and save those snowdrops, you know, if you're working on patching it up or fixing something, just get rid of anything that's in your way. So, hey, thank you so much, everybody. His eye is actually right there in that little black spot. You can look at the picture. And it says enough, and it's wintertime, and I appreciate you hanging out and watching my video, and let me know how it turned out and send me a picture. Thank you so much. This is Painting with Hi everyone, my name is Pauline, and I am so happy that you found my